Hello everyone! Welcome to this silent disco, which is not fully silent, but you can choose to go for that version. I tried that with my family at a disco this summer. That was great fun. But we used it for us right now here today. Warm welcome. I am Joakim Gavelin. I am with Inriver. I have been in the space of product information, sales and marketing for almost 30 years, helping brands, manufacturers, resellers and distributors to succeed and sell more to their respective customers. The last 9 years I have focused specifically on digital shelf excellence and how to succeed on the digital shelf with your product information. That is especially what I will speak about here today. First of all, very short about Inriver. We are a multi-tenant SaaS PIM solution. We have been in the PIM space since 2007, where we presently help more than 1,600 brands to harness their complete product journeys and manage their product information. We operate globally. We have our HQ in Sweden, but we also have local establishments in the Philippines, in the US, in Germany, in France, Netherlands, and here in the UK. We are proud to be members of the MAC Alliance, and also as well as the global ecosystem with SAP, Microsoft, and Salesforce. For the ones who doesn't know about PIM, it stands for Product Information Management. One customer once said, "Oh, it's like a CRM, but for product data." Well, yeah, that is maybe a good explanation. Our composable platform helps with 4 main pillars to power the entire product journey for our customers. First of all, we help to onboard and collect all data and build one trusted source of truth for product information. Secondly, we help to enrich, localize, and beautify the content so it lands well at every single touch point through enrichment. We help to distribute and syndicate this content into each respective marketplace. And lastly, we help to evaluate and investigate what happens when the content, the assets, the product information has been distributed into each touch point. Does it stay as it's intended, or does it change in any way, or might it even disappear? That is a fairly good question. I will come back to that. Historically, the use case for PIM has been a straightforward commerce scenario, but now we also have governance scenarios to take care of, and we also have expanding data models where we add new layers to the data model and to each product and to each SKU that needs to be nursed. The more responsive a brand wants to become, the more endpoints you will have on the right side, downstream in your data. And the more regulations that apply and the more variations to your SKU and your data models, the more complex the data will be on the left side, upstream in your tech stack. Also, the more endpoints and the more complexity on the right side, the faster the data needs to fly, and the more complicated it might get. I think our beloved customer Michelin expressed this in a really good way. In the digital world, we don't sell tires, we sell product information. And to have consistent and correct product information across all the channels that can stand tall for comparisons and can stand tall for all these SKU choosers across each marketplace is a very, very complex task and very relevant task. Failing with this today can also lead to high fines based on you failing to follow these local regulatory requirements. Please identify the RFID chips, which represent the forthcoming digital product passport that will apply to Michelin, as well as every manufacturer that want to sell and succeed in Europe, to comply to data transparency by being able to look into the complete footprint of that product. For a tire, it will naturally be an RFID chip in some way or form. For other products, it might be a QR code. A product like a tire needs to stand tall for comparing images, sizes, product details, which tire fits what car and what rim, for what purpose, for what temperature, for what region, awards, upsells, alternatives, and there's so much data that needs to be compliant to make a brand like Michelin successful. When any of this data goes bad, wrong, missing along the way, which it does, this can cause a complete lost sale for the whole supply chain, from manufacturing to reseller. Because at the instant when you bump into a 404 or a missing asset that confuse you, you will drop the cart, which can harm the sales drastically. And this is a massive problem, I can tell you. From investigating the digital shelves in depth for the last 9 years, this landscape is flooded with oopses and whoopses and dogs of Amazon, which is just a fun way of a 404, just to express it in another way. But this happens actually up to 40%, 40% of URL links go dead, missing, or broken along the way. The magic is to know when this happens and where it happens. It's really painful to invest so much in your beautiful assets and content and then just realize that it's Pretzel who replaced your product page on Amazon. Or maybe you realize it in the books when you see the quarter sales doesn't come to life by the end of the quarter, and you find out that Pretzel has been the one playing your role on that site. Another element of complexity on the digital shelf is the messed up taxonomy, which we also experience, such in this case, jewelry categorized as business cases, or a kitchen knife categorized as an insect and pest repellent. It likely works as a pest repellent to use it for that one for very large bugs, but it will be difficult to find that kitchen knife if you look for kitchen knives. The digital shelves are also crowded in a way we have never seen before since the beginning of time, where Zalando in Germany claims to have 113,000 t-shirts on their site, which actually sums up to 4,700 pages of t-shirts. And it's quite painful as a brand to be on page 3,800. It's difficult to sell them. And you need to respond to so many algorithms to succeed, to be the one that is selected to be in top of these shelves. Another element of complexity is misspell content, content that lands in a way that is not intended to do. So when you work with your data upstreams, in your PIM or your DAM or your MDM, and then you distribute this along the final mile, things might go wrong and land bad or be transformed along the way. So this doesn't mean that it's spelled Johnny Veloker in the PIM system behind these, but it might happen along the way on the final mile or when it has landed. It just adds complexity to find that product if it's misspelled. We can also look at, this is just one example, comparing one source of truth in terms of measurements, comparing that with 4 resellers, and every single one of them have the incorrect specifications of the measurements for that trash bin. So this is not an upstream issue, this is a downstream issue. This happens on the marketplaces or in the final mile when you distribute this content into these marketplaces. It adds complexity and confusion, and customers will be upset and essentially drop the cart. This is a research I did yesterday. I have a Triumph motorcycle myself. I looked for a sports pillion infill for my motorcycle. This was a Googling I did at the airport. So looking at the same model number for the same comparison, that's the pillion. That is what it looks like. It's not a charger, it's not a t-shirt, and it's not a front light. So basically on the first result I get back on that is showing me 4 different results of images and assets explaining the very same product, which is very, very confusing. Missing images is also a massive problem. This is not essentially missing, it's just on position 2, but the prime image says coming soon. We find product pages that are blended up with a Nivea product page, a Nivea body lotion description and title, but a chocolate bar on the first image. We find a Samsung television screen which explains to be a soundbar speaker. We find an Oral-B from Procter & Gamble on Walmart with a Philips title on it. This is not an upstream issue, this is a downstream issue. This happens on the marketplace. This is an example from Amazon UK, which with Celebrations chocolate box, which is one of my favorites of all time, which is categorized as a fruit juice in item form of a spray, age range 25 months, and it's useful as a bathroom cleaner. That is a difficult product page. Of course, when that happens, it adds confusion to the equation for the shopper, and we usually drop the cart. Another challenge is the massive and rising stockouts. Approximately 30% of products are out of stock online today, globally, across all categories, across all markets. And it's so convenient to choose that Toshiba instead of that LG, or choose that LG instead of that Samsung when we bump into something. So it's so convenient to choose something else. That is a lost sale opportunity that is instant. Sometimes we are forced to buy other products. I'm trying to buy this pair of Pampers, but I can't. because Carrefour is forcing me to choose something else. I'm forced to be a trialist of another brand as soon as I bump into a stockout. Inside the Mind of an Online Shopper is a report you can download from the Inriver website, where we interviewed 6,000 shoppers, 2,000 in the UK, 2,000 in Germany, 2,000 in the US, asking how do you feel when you bump into this? How do you react when you search for something and it shows something else? 64% of you and I are likely to choose another item instantly if what we looked for online cannot be found or is out of stock. 7 out of 10 of us, of you and I, have decided to drop the cart because of poor content, and 83% of you and I get angry when this happens. And that is difficult, holding on to your cell phone. It's dangerous to do that and become angry at something. It's so easy to make a tweet or write a bad review on that product. Spooky number, 34% of product returns was because the product was not as described online. I tried to order something in one size, form or shape for one purpose, and something else is delivered. 34% of product returns is because that the product was not as described online. And the main challenge is that many of these products will never be sold again. It's essentially too costly to repack them and send them out to e-commerce again, so they end up as landfills. From the Optoro impact report in the US alone, we can read that landfills grow by approximately 4.5 million tons a year at present, only due to products that are returned and are not sold again. That equals 10,500 Boeing 747s a year ending up as landfills, just because that we cannot sort product descriptions to tell the true story in e-commerce. That is a main challenge. Just imagine the environmental impact you and I can have by setting this straight and understanding the challenge that it's not about only upstreams, it's not about only downstreams, it's the connection here in between where things can go wrong. And if we can manage that properly, we can help sort this massive issue. One of you might think that, okay, well, I'm into B2B, so this doesn't apply to me. This is only B2C. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. B2B behavior in e-commerce is pairing up on with B2C. We can read from the study from Forrester, younger buyers have B2C expectations, are more demanding, engaging in more buying activities, and are more willing to express the dissatisfaction with the B2B buying process. Millennials and Gen Z constitute 2/3 of the B2B buyers today, and hence we see the shopping behavior for B2B coming up on par with B2C. To win in the online space today, I think understanding and managing 3 universal pillars of sales is important, and I will explain why. These pillars has actually been in place since, I would say, the beginning of time, but they become clearer and clearer in the online space. First of all, a product that cannot be seen cannot be sold. In a physical world, I can always ask somebody for assistance. Do you have this white shirt? Can you find it somewhere for me? But in the online space, I'm left out to algorithms and search results. If the product is not there, or if it's replaced by Pretzel, the dog from Amazon, I will not sell that product. That's impossible. Or if the shelf is too crowded and I'm lost in translation on that shelf, I will not sell either. A product that cannot be supplied will not be sold either. We learned that from the report Inside the Mind of an Online Shopper, where 6 people out of 10 instantly choose another product if what I'm looking for is out of stock. Thirdly, a consumer that doesn't trust a product will not buy it or quickly return it. So we do these comparisons across marketplaces, and the content needs to be correct and consistent for us to be able to do that conversion successfully. Please let me share one customer story. A beloved customer of mine. I've had the pleasure to work with these guys since 2017. I'm referencing the Marshall Group, previously known as Sound Industries, until 2023 when the name changed to Marshall Group. They are the manufacturer of headphone speakers, amplifiers, drums, and apparel. They own the brands Urban Ears, Marshall, and Natal, and they also manufacture Adidas headphones. The brand Marshall, as originated here in the UK, as you are aware of, I assume, has been in the business of loud, which is cool, since 60 years time back. And they have been used by people like Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Slash, Oasis, and the Swedish guitar legend Yngwie Johan Malmsteen. They operate globally through distributors, resellers, and their own e-com. they made a massive digitalization of the business back in 2017, and that is when I came on board, starting to work with them and helping them in the digital shelf analytics space to identify opportunities for them, how they can drive progress forward. They are using the complete Inriver tech stack today by collecting data, enriching data, distributing data, evaluating data, and they have a dam connected to their PIM as well for the rich assets. Quickly, they understood the challenge that needs to be mastered in the digital space. So we started up with the digital shelf analytics elements of the technology. So anytime we spot a dog, in this case on curries on their behalf, that will instantly be notified, and has ever since 2017 been instantly notified to the sales teams so they can take the proper actions on that. Anytime they get lost on the shelf, where we then scrape through these sites as well. This is just an example with 9,000 results for Bluetooth speakers on Amazon in the UK. That is instantly known by their sales teams and marketing teams and their brand teams that can action that to further climb on the digital shelf. In the challenge of a product cannot be sold, any stock out is fed to the Marshall team on a daily basis, both in the dashboard, but also such an important metric, it's also sent via email to their sales teams. So by breakfast, they will know what items are out of stock, where and why, and then quickly replenish that before any sales is lost. Thirdly, the main pillar of content is also then content and storytelling, I will say, consists of two metrics. First of all, ratings and reviews, where we feed them intelligence on how many reviews they are given, focusing on the number of reviews, not specifically the quality of it, the number of it. More is more, we know that. A huge portion of people read this review, and we know that products that have more than 5 reviews have a likelihood of 270% higher to convert than the ones that have 0 reviews. If you gain another 50, that can help you further in the conversation, in your conversion. So this is also fed to them on a daily basis to be able to action, and for the sales teams to action and respond with the marketplaces to gain more reviews. In terms of content, if any asset goes missing, dead, broke, or misplaced in the landscape, that is instantly fed to them. Not just telling that they have an asset in place, but that they have the right image, in the right resolution, in the right place, in every single country. This also applies to titles, descriptions, specifications, and legal requirements, such as digital product passport measurements that needs to be in place, or messaging that needs to be in place in the future. So this can apply to basically any metric that can be exposed in the e-commerce landscape. Secondly, Marshall also very quickly realized that to succeed with excellence on the digital shelf, we cannot rely on technology alone. We need a combination of people, processes, and technology. So they are using the technology to identify and to master the opportunities, but they need people and processes in line with this as well. One initiative they took very, very early was to implement and install the measurements we helped them with on the digital shelf, and install that as part of the KPIs for the sales and marketing teams. So all of a sudden, from 2017 and onwards, they are measured also on the progress, how they drive the digital shelf, as part of their KPIs or OKRs, depending on what you call them. That helps them to drive improvements on the digital shelf on a daily basis. Last year alone, in 2023, they increased their online execution performance with 14% versus 2022, and that is their 7th year in play. They have realized that this is a daily task, this is an ongoing challenge that needs to be mastered over time, and not by the day of the product launch, and be satisfied with that, because these things go wrong along the way. I think referencing Gartner is proper in this case. Technology-wise, they point out PIM with digital shelf analytics and syndication in combination with digital asset management is a center stage technology suitable for this need. To connect in between the upstream data as you control to the downstream data as you do not control, and you then need technology here in between to identify where things go wrong and what is needed, what needs your attention. Gartner also referenced that manufacturers and resellers and distributors that integrate digital shelf analytics as part of your tech stack will succeed with a 30% cost reduction by 2026 to replace all manual data gathering. Organizations that fail on that integration, that uses digital shelf analytics as a standalone, disconnected from the tech stack, will fail on the ROI. So it's essential to integrate that as a part of your complete ecosystem. To summarize, we are more sensitive today to product data, assets, and execution online than we have ever been before. And there is more product information and more granularity to product information to manage than ever before. That equation is difficult. A big share of products are not exposed as they should, or actually not exposed at all. The magic is to know when and where this happens. I referenced that before. Up to 40% of URL links go dead and broken along the way. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. 25 to 40% of product pages have misleading wrong assets or missing assets compared to what the brands and the manufacturers are expecting from the start in their upstream data. A product that cannot be seen cannot be sold, a product that cannot be supplied will not be sold, and a shopper that doesn't trust a product will not buy it or quickly return it. That is a dangerous equation that needs to be mastered. Extensive ROI awaits for the one that can really harness the product information throughout the complete product journey. Start upstreams. If you don't already work with any kind of structured PIM completed with a DAM, MDM, or whatever you have upstream to manage that, that is set, you then need to add your downstream capabilities. Distribution, syndication, digital shelf analytics, connect that to your tech stack, so you essentially can automate the optimization loop for your assets, to automate that and keep up with the speed needed. Digital shelf analytics integrated in your data will make the difference of do or don't, if you do know where to go for execution excellence or online or not. That will be the judge of that. Essentially, that adds eyes and ears to your PIM. It adds eyes and ears to your tech stack. It's also a sense of urgency connected to this, because this is not about losing one sale for one day and missing one conversion. This is about a long tail that happens. If I lose trust in a brand, that might be a lost sale for life. If I just one day is forced to buy another product based on a stock out or based on the fact that I cannot find it, might give a long tail where you will lose that customer for life. So just the lost sale of one pair of headphones for Marshall one day might be worth a fortune over 10 years' time, because that shopper converted to another brand as they trust more in the future. That is really, really important to be aware of. Thank you so much for listening. I am Joakim Gavelin. You can meet me and my colleagues in booth N18, or you can scan the QR code to speak with one of our PIM and digital shelf analytics specialists at another occasion. In booth N18, we are offering popcorn for every visitor that comes there. You can get a bucket of popcorn. And you also have Susanna, my colleague, at the exit here. If you do want an ebook with some more descriptions of Inriver and capabilities, that is also available there. Thank you so much for listening.